Here we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Painting Through the Pandemic. I'm Shauna Sue. I own Crooked Door Studio in Uptown Marysville, Ohio. We've been at this, oh my gosh, like 10 months now, 10 and a half months. So when the pandemic first started to like really rage in March, I shut the studio down. I shouldn't say shut it down. I mean, we still have the studio, but I closed the physical doors because it's just not safe for us to be gathered in there for long periods of time. It just puts everyone at great risk of exposure. So the studio has been physically closed since mid-March. I still don't know when I'm going to open the doors back up, but by doing these virtual classes and the donations that you guys all send, I'm able to pay my rent on the studio space. So it will be there when this whole crazy thing is over and I'm able to open my doors again. Fingers crossed. I'm aiming for May. I'm aiming for Memorial Weekend. Fingers crossed. So anyway, with that said, if you would like to donate to the studio, I put information in the chat box on Zoom where you can PayPal me or Venmo me or mail a check to the studio. If you're local in Marysville, there's a supply cabinet in the back of the studio. We need to talk about the supply cabinet. There's a drop box, a locked drop box on the supply cabinet. So if you wanted to pop money in there, that would be fantastic too. So thank you all so much for helping me pay my rent. So at some point we can all get back to the actual studio and do what we do there. But until then, this is pretty lovely. And we'll continue to do this. Some people have asked me if I'm continuing in February. I am. Don't have the paintings chosen yet for February. So if you have some ideas for what you'd like to do in February, we have 4 Saturdays in February. Send me some ideas. I'm still finalizing the calendar, and we'll do what we do every month. I'll take the most popular ones, the ones that I like, not the most popular, the ones I like, and I'll have you guys all vote on them, and you'll help me choose the calendar for February, okay? Supply cabinet at the studio. If you are local to Marysville, I have a supply cabinet in the back breezeway. You message me at the studio, and I'll get your supplies ready and then put them in the cabinet so you can pick them up at your leisure. It's no contact pickup. I give you the lock code and you go in and pick them up on a time frame that works for you. So that's always something that's optional if you're local to Marysville. Okay, so first things first, let's go through our, let's go through our supply list. If you've joined us before, you know, I do, Lynn. I think I have like 5 of them left. I forget how much they are. 12, 15? I could look. You and I will talk. Message me, remind me. I need to put in another order though, right? So I need to, we'll go through the supply list here in just a second. So if you've joined us before, you know, you can go for a walk, take a little breather, take a little break. You know, I'm not going to start painting till about 7:15. It seems like it's 7:15 every week. It takes me that long to get through everything I want to say. So for those of you that have been here before, just chillax, chill out a little bit. For those of you that are brand new, I'm going to go through the supplies. Again, if you don't have something that I have, don't worry about it. We're going to wing it. It'll be fine. Okay. I know since we're not all painting in the same space together, we're gathering supplies from wherever we can get them from. It'll be fine, whatever you're working on tonight. Okay. So with that said, since we are in our own homes, in our own spaces, we're not in a paint safe space necessarily. If we were in the studio, I wouldn't be worried about it. But since we're at home, take a moment and look around. Make sure there's nothing around you that you're super concerned about getting paint on. I always say this because I live in a tiny home, legitimately a tiny home. My living room is right there. I'm in my kitchen and my living room is right there. It is really easy when I'm painting to flick my brush off the edge of the canvas and accidentally flick paint into my living room. So the paint that we're using, if you got paint from me, The paint that we're using is acrylic paint. It's water-based, water-soluble. But if you get it on your clothes and it dries, if you get it on fabric, if you get it on carpet, it's a real bear to get out, okay? We love acrylic paint because it dries fast, it's water cleanup. We don't like acrylic paint because when it dries, it turns to plastic and it gets in fibers and it's really hard to get out. So take a moment, look around, check, make sure you have a shirt that you're not super concerned about if you get paint on it, because it's real easy to get paint on you if you're not careful. I have an apron on. Lynn, remind me later. We'll talk about aprons. I think I have some more at the studio if anybody would like to purchase one. There we go. Okay, so paint, shirt, apron, that's taken care of. Tonight I have a 16 by 20 canvas, 16 by 20 primed, stretched, wrapped canvas. Our inspiration painting, I think it's going to work well vertically tonight. If I look at our inspiration painting, and this is my, this is where I let you know this is not my painting. This is just something we found online that we all really liked. We're like, hey, let's paint that. That's how artists learn, right? You pick something you like and you try to copy it to get the techniques down, to figure out how things work. And then when you figure all that out, then you start to go out on your own, right? That's how we work in the art world. So with this inspiration picture, I think it's going to work well on a canvas that's more vertical, because then you can have the bears down at the bottom, and then you have all that sky space for the heart and all the stuff that's happening up there. I say that just to say, if you want to put your canvas horizontal, you do that. It's your painting. It's whatever you want it to be. So if you want to flip that canvas sideways, you go ahead and do that. But I think I'm gonna stick with mine vertical tonight. The 16 by 20 stretched canvas. The stretched canvases are lovely because they are wrapped around and stapled on the back. I will try and remind you to paint your edges. As we paint that sky, I'm going to try and remind you to paint your edges as we go. So as I work my way down the canvas, I'll paint my sides. It always looks nice when you paint your edges. You don't have to, but it looks nice when you paint your edges and your painting is wrapped all the way around. You don't have to, but you want to pick either paint them or not. Don't start halfway and then stop, because that just looks sloppy and unfinished. So either paint your edges or not, okay? Okay, so paint, shirt, apron. I've looked around, my surroundings are good. I've got my canvas. Let's talk about brushes tonight. So tonight I have my big fat background brush. I'm using a big oval wash brush. Yours might be flat, yours might be angled. It is what it is, just the biggest brush you have. Some kind of a medium brush, right? He's skinny this way, but this one's probably about 1/4 inch wide, just something smaller that I can work with on those bears and in those mountains. And then a pointy brush. And this guy, he doesn't look very pointy right now, but when I get him in the water, he'll come to a really nice point. So you may have a brush that's smaller than this. Yours may be a little bigger than this. The most important part is that it still holds its act together when you pull it out of the water and it comes to a really nice point. So with those 3 brushes, that's how I'm gonna do this painting. I have a water cup. I like to use an old mason jar. Coffee cups are lovely too, because they're nice and heavy and you're less likely to knock them over, as opposed to a paper cup or a plastic solo cup. So this one has been designated my paint cup, my paint jar. Halfway full with cool or cold water, never warm or hot. Warm water does something weird to the paint, okay? It dries the paint and the brushes. So cool or cold water. When I'm not using my brushes, I'm gonna dump them in there and leave them there. This is just while I'm painting tonight. When I'm done painting, I'll get them out of there. I'll clean them out with soapy water. I'll lay them flat to dry. But for now, while I'm painting, I'm going to keep them in there. That's a good reminder that when I'm done with a brush, it goes back in there with his friends, so it doesn't dry out and wind up with crusty paint in it. Okay. Other things you might have, I have a paint pen. I always keep a paint pen just because I'm really bad at signing my name on my painting at the end with a brush. So I keep a paint pen just for that occasion. I have some paper towels to blot my brushes on, and then paint. Let's talk about paint. So tonight I just have 4 colors. I have blockout white, phthalo green. I like phthalo green because it's a little turquoisey and it looks lovely mixed with phthalo blue, and then Mars black. Your colors may be different. That's fine. You may decide you don't want any green and you just want blue. That's fine, right? It's your painting. It's whatever you make it. So there we go. There's my paint. All right, and then optional, I mentioned earlier, you might, totally up to you, but you might find some scissors and maybe an extra plate, or I like to use junk mail, something that's like cardstock-ish, something a little heavier than regular paper. I'm going to use this to cut a heart template for later. We don't have to do that now. That'll be probably the last thing we do on this painting, one of the last things we do. So you've got time to find it, but scissors and something rigid that you can cut for your template. Okay. So with that, look at that, 7:15, because I'm just that good. I'm not that good. I'm just predictable. That's all. I repeat the same thing every night. I'm sure those of you that have been joining us for the past 10.5 months, you could pretty much repeat that whole spiel. You don't even need me anymore. Okay. So beverage in hand. Let me take a sip here. If you know me at all, you know I adore fall. I love all things pumpkin, all things fall. Meyer right now, the Meyer in Marysville, has their pumpkin spice, and I am a coffee holic. They have their pumpkin spice creamer like left over, but it doesn't expire till May. They have it on clearance right now for $1 for a big jug of it. I may or may not have picked up 12 jugs of creamer, pumpkin spice. So I'm in my happy zone right now. Okay. All right, let's do this. So I always like to give you a roadmap so you know the direction we're going to go with this. So our roadmap for tonight, we're going to paint that sky, right? Paint that whole sky. We'll do some blending. We'll put our ground in there. And then we'll work on there's some mountains back here. Those they're taller on the edges and they come down toward the middle. They help frame that whole piece, right? They lean down into the bears. And then we'll put our bears on there. And then we'll put our heart up there in the sky. So again, our heart's going to be one of the last things. So you have time if you need to find scissors and junk mail or a paper plate or something. Okay. So that's the direction we're going to go. All right. Find your biggest brush. If you're using new brushes, ooh, that would be lovely, Lynn. Aurora, I like it. We'll talk about that if we need to. Okay, if you're using new brushes, you're going to want to tap those in the water cup. Tap them in the bottom a little bit. When you get new brushes, they put from the factory, they put like a starch on them that holds them nice and stiff in shipping so they don't get damaged. So you want to get that out of there. So I'm just gently tapping in the bottom. I do this with my old brushes because I've used these brushes for so long. They tend to get, they all have like a little bit of dried paint residue in them. So this softens them up too. So new or old, I'll always start tapping my brushes in the water cup. All right, biggest brush. Tap, dry it off on your paper towel. And let's start with that sky. So it's this big swooping back and forth, starts out dark, and then gets lighter as we go down. You know what? Let's put our horizon line on there. Let's do that first, okay? let's take with that big brush, I'm going to take a little bit of black. Anytime I take paint, I'm always going to go in the edge of the puddle, never the middle. I don't want to mess the whole thing up. So let's go right there in the edge, just a little bit of black. And I think if I were to split my painting in quarters, I think that bottom quarter is going to be my ground. Okay. So I'm just going to put just a little black reference line across there. So I know now this will all be sky, and then this will be my ground. So a little bit of black, get your horizon line on there. And then with that black in my brush, I'm going to get just a little bit more. This might be the only time I take black on my brush for the sky, because too much black will take over really fast. So I've got some black on my brush. And now I'm going to take even amounts of blue and green. So with the black on my brush, I'm going to take a swipe of blue and a swipe of green. And let's go back and forth. Up and around. So a little bit of black, some blue, some green. Whenever we paint something like this where we have to do lots of coverage, get plenty of paint on your brush. I love old brushes because, like this brush, for example, it's seen better days, right? It's kind of splayed out. This brush is going to hold a lot of paint. It's going to make my job here a lot easier because it's going to hold so much paint. If you have a brand new brush, it's going to be really tight and it's not going to hold near as much paint because it's still nice and tight and collapsed down in. So if I were you with a brand new brush, I would scoop paint. I'm going in the blue and the green. Look at that. I'm scooping it there. And I'm going to get it on that canvas and move it around. Once I have a lot of paint on there, then I'll move it around. Oh, edges. Edges. Don't forget your edges. Okay. I'm going to get up there on that tippy top. And I will say it's easier to match your edges and paint them as you go than it is to try to go back and paint them later. So I will try to remind you as we go to paint those edges. Okay. So with the black and the green and the blue, I've come down in the middle about 3 fingers, about 3 finger widths. And I don't have any big clumps of black left in my brush. If you have big clumps in there, wipe it off on your paper towel, but I don't. There's a little in there, but not any big clumps. And now I'm going to keep going with blue, green, and a little bit of white. Little bit to start with. I can add more as I go, but a little bit. Blue, green, white. And let's talk about blending. To blend, we start out in the new section. It's always, is it 1 step forward, 2 steps back? 1 step forward, 2 steps back. So this is my 1 step forward. That's quite a hard line, isn't it? So now I'm gonna take a step back. I'm gonna go up into that old section, picking up that dark paint, and come back down into my new section. That's how we blend. Let's do that again. Blue, green, white. Ooh, I got more white that time. We'll see if that's too much. Start out in my new section. And then I'm going to go back up. Oh, about a ½ inch or so, maybe an inch into that old section, back down into the new section. Edges, getting my edges as I go. So the thing with acrylic paint, to remember, it only blends while it's wet. Once acrylic paint is dry, it will not blend. So I'm only going to work up. I'm going to start in my new section. I'm going to work up about an inch where I know it's still wet, and then back down. Let's do that again. Blue, green, white. In my new section, up into my old, just a little bit to get that blend, and back down. Now I think I want to add more white. I want to start to get that brighter. New section. Edges. So as I do this, I know from experience that blue and green is so powerful. They're so strong. I want it to get lighter, and it's not getting as light as I want. So with that blue-green on my brush, I'm just going to take white this time. Just white. Because that little bit of blue-green that's there is enough. So in my new section, oops, up into my old, down into my new. Remember, as you take paint, especially the white, always in the edge. That way later when I need clean white, I can use out of this other side. Okay. And let's take this all the way down to our horizon line. Again, my guidance to you is get plenty of paint on your brush. It's so much easier if you get a lot of paint on your brush and you move it around once you have it on the canvas. And you see, as I get close to my horizon line, I'm flattening that out. Now I wanted it to get lighter as I got down toward my horizon line, but I don't want it to get too light because I want that contrast with my polar bears. My polar bears are going to be white. So I think I might actually put a little bit of color back in there because I want that to contrast with my white bears. I don't want my white bears to blend in too much. And I can do that. I can put a little bit of blue and green back in there because this is still wet, right? I can blend it while it's wet. Once it's dry, it will not blend. Lynn, I'm thinking about your comment, like the aurora lights up there. I wonder if you want to blend some yellow in now, or if you want to let that dry a little before you blend some yellow in. Because the yellow and the green, the bright yellow and phthalo green, will give you this lovely lime color. I have to ponder that. Okay. So I'm going to keep going. You keep working on that sky if that's where you're at. but I have the right colors in my brush, I want to go ahead and finish out that ground. So when you're ready to go here, you go there, right? I'm going to take some green, some blue, a little bit of white, and a tiny bit of black. And my ground is going to be side to side. So it's all the colors we've used so far. So when you're ready to move on to your ground, it's all the colors. So blue, green, white, and a tiny, tiny bit of black, and side to side. When I'm done with that ground, I'm going to put my brush in my water cup. And we're going to leave that sit there for a minute. So to be respectful of everyone's time, we'll check in, give you a good 15 minutes, I think. We'll check in at 7:45, and you can let me know then if you're ready to move on or if you need a little bit of time. For this painting, I'm not worried about anything drying. I'm not worried about blow dryers tonight. Okay. So blue, green, white, tiny bit of black, side to side. And I'm coming right up. You can cover that black line or not. It's entirely up to you. I'm probably going to end up covering it. If you don't cover it now, we'll cover it with mountains in a little bit. Mountains are going to be our next step, I think. And when we're done with this step, your whole canvas should be covered, right? Edges and all. Blue, green, white, little black. As I put this ground on here, I'm not blending it into oblivion, right? I like that I can see a little more green there and a little darker down there. I like that. If I keep going over it and over it and over it, it's going to blend into nothingness, into all one color. So I'm going to try really hard to get the colors on there and walk away and not blend it into one shade of blue gray. Oh, and as we paint, I like to remind everybody to breathe. All right. This is going to be what it's going to be. Part of being an artist is just letting it happen. Whatever's going to happen, you can't control it. I feel pretty good about that. When I'm done, I'm gonna pop that brush in my water cup. And I think we're probably done with the big brush at this point. Okay, it's about 7:45. I'll check in, see how everyone's doing, see if we're ready to move on at that point. Remember, if you have any questions, pop them in the chat box. I'm keeping an eye on that. So excited about these bears. For whatever reason, I feel like I'm going to have the chubbiest bears on the planet. But that's okay. They're allowed to be, right? They're allowed to be chubby bears. Right, Marie? I love it. I could say anything, and my sweet Ya Marie would be like, of course. Duh. Oh, it's nice that you always have that one friend, which I have 4 of them, that always have your back regardless of the ridiculousness that comes out of your mouth. Oh, my yas. Oh, girls. Oh, Baby Yoda! Baby Yoda's here. I didn't see Baby Yoda's here. Where are you, Baby Yoda? I don't see you. Oh, you were on page 2. I did not see you, Grogu. Sweet pea. What are you wearing tonight? Is it a Christmas sweater, Baby Yoda? Is it Mardi Gras? Like I can't decide what we're wearing. Ugly Christmas sweater. I love it. So, Baby Yoda, you're in Indiana, right? I believe. I remember that correctly. Are you getting snow yet? Oh, it's like you're reading my mind. Chicagoland, yes. So you're already getting the snow. Are you getting the heavy snow? So here they're predicting in Union County in central Ohio, they're predicting, oh, anywhere from like 2 to I think 8 inches is what they're saying. I don't think anybody knows, but I think they're anticipating heavy snowfall here. Are you anticipating heavy snowfall there? 7 to 16. Oh, that's good snow. Somebody said earlier, if it's going to be this freaking cold, we need snow to go with it. And I have to agree. In LaRue, Ohio, you were in LaRue last week? I didn't know anybody outside of Ohio knew about LaRue. Huh? What brought you to LaRue? Had to be family, either family or the raceway. Is the raceway still in LaRue? I think so. I was born and raised in Marion, and there was gotcha. Okay. I was born and raised in Marion, and there was a commercial on the radio, and there might still be. I don't listen to radio out of Marion anymore. When I was a kid, it was WDIF. Um, and there was a commercial, and it was La Rue, Ohio, the raceway there. Oh, too funny. La Rue. My husband, when he was a young puppy, he lived in Big Island out in that area, and it always made me giggle. I'm like, it's landlocked central Ohio and yet Big Island. But if you've ever been through springtime, it's an island. It floods like nobody's business out there. Big Island. Oh no, Wendy Joe, you lost sound. Does everybody else have sound? Give me thumbs up. Yeah, Lynn is saying yes. Okay, I'm just gonna keep talking. Thanks, Amanda. Thanks, Baby Yoda. Thanks, Rachel. I'm just gonna keep talking so Wendy Joe can get us back. Thanks, Kelly. It's just like earlier when I said sound check and then I stopped talking. It's not much of a sound check, is it? Are you back with us, Wendy Joe? Can you hear me? Yeah? Again, I got quiet. I'm not very good at this. You'd think 10 and a half months into the pandemic, I'd be better at this. Is what it is. Oh, huh. Don't know why Wendy Joe lost sound. I'm trying to like tech solve it from here. Not a tech person. Thanks, Teresa. I'm not a techie person, and yet I'm trying to solve Wendy Joe's sound issue. Oh, Pleasant Spartan, Lori. I'm a Harding president. You know, if I lived across the street, which I could tell you what street I grew up on, but you wouldn't know it because nobody does. If I lived across the street, oh, Elgin, nice. I would have gone to Pleasant. So I'm trying to think, Lori, who would we have in common? Um, yes, I just saw Miss Sue. Yes, I'm here if you have any questions. About another 6 minutes or so, and I'll check in and see if we're ready to move on. Um, oh yeah, may need to log out and log back in to get sound, Wendy Joe. And we have a good 6 minutes before we move on, so you're not going to miss anything if you need to log out and log back in. So Lori, it's a roundabout way to say it, but Linda Starner was the elementary teacher, or like a kindergarten teacher, I think, kindergarten or first grade teacher forever and ever and ever at Pleasant. Does that name ring a bell? You'll have to let me know. She's my aunt. She's my aunt. So Connect Online. Oh, Christy, they're saying it, Wendy Joe, they're saying it's because of your Wi-Fi, maybe. I love it. Wendy Joe's probably like, I got it fixed, y'all, settle down. And we just keep trying to problem solve her. That's why you guys are my people. We're helpers. It's what we do. So my cousins went to Pleasant, and my uncle, after my Aunt Sue that I'm named after she passed, my uncle married Linda Starner, the kindergarten or first grade, I think kindergarten teacher. But anyway, they're still happily married. So Lori, you'll have to let me know what road you grew up on if you went to Pleasant. My cousins lived on Gooding, way out on Gooding Road. Oh, Smeltzer. How close to Lawrence's? Okay, nice. Nice. Oh, Marion. My dad still lives in Marion. My dad's on Barks Road. Wait, which IGA? The one on Barks Road? I mean, it's not there anymore, but okay, so you might know where I grew up. Osgood Street. Do you know Osgood? I see you nodding your head. Oh, Peg, you went to Prospect. See, we're all kindred spirits. Okay, so Osgood, there are 3 little streets between Cheney and Prospect. We are all connected. 3 little streets. Osgood was the first one, and then Smith, and then Evans. And yeah, the one side of Osgood was Pleasant District, and the other side of Osgood was Marion City. So my girlfriends that lived across the street that I played with growing up, we didn't go to the same school. It's kind of weird, but whatever. Oh, too funny. Oh, Elgin Prospect. Jed Middleton. Mr. Middleton, you mean? Not allowed to use first names like that. That was weird. I'm like, who is that? Oh, Mr. Middleton. That just felt bad. That just felt so wrong all of a sudden. Oh, too funny. And yet I said Linda. I didn't say Miss Starner. I said Linda because she's my aunt. So weird. Oh my goodness. I feel bad for people that haven't been with us before. They're like, what is going on, you people? Something you should probably know about us is I'll talk about anything and everything. Gotcha. Oh, anything and everything. Oh, trying to think if I have a chicken story tonight. I don't think I do. Phyllis is on lockdown. You'll have to let me know if I've told you about Phyllis being on lockdown. She scared the crap out of me. She's okay. For those of you that are concerned about Phyllis, don't be. She's fine, but she's still on lockdown. Okay, so it is. Oh, um, they've been staying inside a lot. They're not frozen, but they have been staying inside quite a bit, which is kind of, I mean, we have a nice coop, but there's 27 of them in there and they're all like huddled up together. And they look 10 times bigger than they actually are because they've got their feathers all fluffled up. Anyway, okay, it is 7:45, the time at which I said we'd move on. If you're not ready, if you need another 5 minutes, flail wildly so I can see you. Oh, Lynn, do you need another 5? Yeah. Okay. We're gonna give it another 5 minutes, right? That way everybody will be ready to move on at the same time. So 10 till. If you're ready to move on, that's okay. Take a break. This is our time to just, thanks, Ellie. This is our time to just chill, just hang out. But you've got 5 minutes if you need to go get a beverage, to get a snack, to run to the potty, to rinse your brushes out if you need, to get clean water. That might be something you could do. And when we move on, you can, Augie, you can get clean water now if you want. So if you decide that you want to go get clean water, what I do, this big brush has a lot of paint in it. So if I were going to go get clean water, I would tap, tap, tap that big brush in the bottom of the cup. Tap, tap, tap. That helps knock the paint out of that brush. Tap, tap, tap. And then you can actually pull these out and lay them on your paper towel and go get clean water if you need to. Okay. About 4 minutes, we'll be ready to move on. Oh, Lynn mentioned earlier my flowers. I'm gonna angle this over so you can all see them. Peggy, those are from your lovely daughter. I thought you needed to see those. Okay, so somebody will have to let me know while we're giving Lynn and our other friends 3 more minutes. You'll have to let me know when someone delivers flowers to you, do you tip them? I couldn't decide. I feel like if someone's providing that service, but I wasn't anticipating it, so I didn't have cash to provide a tip. But I felt like they drove out to my house and delivered me flowers. So I felt like I should tip them. You'll have to let me know how you guys would handle that. But so since I didn't have money, I tipped them with a dozen eggs from my chickens. Is that weird? He seemed happy with the eggs. Okay, that's good to hear, Lori. I never have cash, and I wasn't anticipating flowers, but they drove out to my house in the country, so I felt like I needed to give them something. Mama raised me right, I guess, right? I don't know. Guilt, I'm not sure. Okay, so we've got another minute and a half, 2 minutes. And we're going to get ready to move on. You know what I could use this time for is to cut my heart stencil. I could do that. And I'm going way back to oh, thank you, Teresa. Yeah, if somebody provides a service like that, you do what you can to help them out. And he seemed very happy. He seemed very happy with the eggs. And that's what I had to give, so that's what I gave. Which, P.S., by the way, if you ever wind up at a potluck with me and I wind up with your dish, we do, don't we, Buttery? If I wind up with your dish and I take it home and I clean it, you're getting it back with eggs in it. Because you're never supposed to like return an empty dish, but I never have time to cook. So I have started, somebody left cupcakes the other day. Thanks, Peg. Yeah, I don't have time to cook. So somebody like left cupcakes the other day and I returned their cupcake tin full of eggs because, you know, I'm sure my chickens are like, why are you giving all our eggs away, lady? They don't need them. Okay, so I'm going back to grade school here. I'm going to take another minute or so and cut my heart template. So I've just folded this in half. That will ensure that regardless of what my heart looks like, it will at least be symmetrical. And I'm going to cut it bigger than I think I want it, bigger than it needs to be. Oh, thanks, Christy. I just saw your Venmo. Thank you. I can always make this smaller, but I'm going to start with it nice and big. Oh, 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 that's going to look lovely. So I used a paper plate and just cut it as big as I could out of that paper plate. So it's, I'm looking for a measurement. It's, I don't know, as big as my hand, maybe. It's a good size for a heart. I wanted to fill that sky. So got that, set that to the side. All right, I say we go ahead and move on. Let's take a look at our inspiration painting here. And let's go ahead and put those mountains in. So if we look at them, they are, I would say 3, maybe 4 fingers tall. We'll talk about that in just a second. We'll do some measurements. But it looks like there are 3 different levels. So there are white mountains that are the tallest. I don't know if mountains or glaciers. We might call them glaciers. There are 3 levels of glaciers. There's the white ones. And then there's ones that are like that medium mix. They almost match the ground color. That they're shorter, but it's that blue, green, gray color. And then black down there at the bottom, just short ones to finish that out. Okay, taller on the edges. And then they come down in front of the bears. So let's go ahead and put those on there. Okay. So find your medium brush. Clean it out and dry it off. And I think I'm going to make them about 4 fingers tall. Now, this is if you're working on a 16 by 20 stretch canvas. If your canvas is not dry, don't worry about it. I'm not worried about it because these are all the same colors. Okay. It's about 4 fingers tall. And they're going to come down here to the middle. Let's do those tallest ones first. So I'm going to use, I have white that has a little bit of that blue gray in there. I'm going to use that. So it's not going to be white, white, white. It's going to have a little bit of blue gray in it. I'll put white caps on them at the end. But this white, blue gray right there, that it's got a little bit of that blue green. but it's still pretty darn light. Let's see, what did we say? 4 fingers high. And they're very pointy, right? Come down to the middle. And I'm going to fill those in by pulling down. Now, something I didn't talk about just now, but I probably should. When I put those on there, I used a very shaky hand. Let me show you on the other side, because I'm going to do the exact same thing, maybe a little different. I might make them a little bit taller so they're not so matchy left to right. But again, here in this blue green mess here at the edge of the white, and I don't want them to be super smooth, right? I want them to be a little shaky. So when I'm trying to get something a little shaky and a little more natural, I'll actually hold my brush out closer to the end so I don't have as much control of it. If I hold it like this, like I hold a pencil or a pen, I have too much control and it makes my brush strokes too controlled. It's not what I want. I want these to be a little shaky. You'll see me do this with tree branches too. I'll hold it out here closer to the end. And let's see, give a little shake. Down. Shake your hand. And fill it in, pulling down. And you'll notice I'm not filling it all the way to the bottom because I know I'm going to have this medium color and then black down here at the bottom. So I'm going to bring this really light color down, probably about 2/3 of the way down. And this glacier is going to be in front of, or I'm sorry, it's going to be behind my one bear. I'm okay with that. Okay, lightest color first. Okay. There we go. All right. So I have that lightest color. I'm going to go back. It's going to be hard to tell here. It's going to be very subtle, but I'm going to go back when I'm completely done with all 3 levels. I'm going to go back with some clean white and hit just the caps of those glaciers, but I'm going to let them dry. So I'm going to move on to that medium color next. Again, shaky hand. So let's see, this white, the green, the blue. I don't know if I'm going to add any black. I haven't decided yet. White, green, blue. This medium level in here. And this layer, I'm going to take pretty far down to the horizon. That way I don't have much of a gap to make up with my black. So blue, green, white, shaky hand it. This is where we remind ourselves that this is all in the background. Nobody's going to pay any attention to these glaciers, to these mountains when it's all said and done. They're going to be too focused on the bears. But the painting would be lacking without these glaciers. I'm going to get close so you can see the way I'm playing in that blue, green, white. I have all this fun texture happening there. That one's a little more blue. That one's a little more green. And I'm leaving just the littlest gap down here to fill in with that black. It's one of those things when you look at it up close, it's kind of a hot mess. But when you get away from it, that all makes sense. Okay. The other side. Ooh, so much shaky hand here. Remember, don't choke up on that brush. Right? If I hold it out at the end, that's helping me with my shaky handness. And then I'm going to finish out with black. And I think I'm going to rinse my brush out because I think I have too much white in there. It's okay if it's not solid black, but I've got too much cooking in there. I don't think I'm going to be able to get it as dark as I want. So I'm going to go ahead and clean that brush out before I move on to black. Tap, 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 and get that color out of there. And remember, our goal is still taller at the edge and comes down to nothing in the middle, right? In front of where those bears are going. So with my clean medium brush, I'm just taking black because I know it's going to blend with that little bit of color I already have there. And let's go ahead and finish this out down here. It's going to give us a nice solid horizon line with a couple little bumps. Not a lot. But a solid black line is boring. So give it a little bit of texture there. Go over here and get the other side. As I'm singing here, I hope you guys have your music turned up. Music or movie. Sometimes when I paint, I like to have my favorite movies in. Tonight I've got my Pandora cooking though. Got my summer hits of the 90s radio. So I got a little Rusted Root. Again, it's like I said in the beginning, art should be relaxing, should be fun, can be challenging, but you do whatever you do that gets you in that happy place, right? And tonight, summer hits of the 90s music is doing it for me, right? The paint is flowing good. The music is good. The company is good. Okay, I have those 3 layers done. And then I'm going to go back. I'm going to rinse my brush out really, really good. And I'm going to get some clean white to put right at the tops of those peaks. So I'm going to wait a few minutes, let that dry a little bit, and then I'll show you how I'm going to do that. Oh, and I'm looking around. I don't see Andrea here tonight. Are you here, Andrea? I don't see you. So Andrea, that's usually here with us every week, I saw on Facebook, we talk about her puppy. I think her puppy's 12, Flash, and Flash was having a medical emergency today, and now I don't see her here, so I'm a little worried. Everybody send up a happy puppy prayer for Flash, sweet baby. Jessica, is that you without children? How did that happen? I just looked over and saw you. I'm like, no babies tonight. Nice. Oh, uh-huh. That's my girl. We all need that every now and then. I'm not saying I have Bailey's in my coffee, but you never know. Oh, I'm sorry. It has been a week. I'm sorry. And it feels like we say that more and more, right? Every week, it's been a week. But this last week was rough. Well, I'm glad you're here tonight painting. Okay, so I have this medium brush, cleaning it out, drying it off. And I'm going to put clean white. Clean white. Oh, gotcha. Gotcha, Christy. Thank you. I'm going to put clean white on my brush to get on the tops of those mountains, on the tops of those glaciers. And I'm going to put that on there like I'm buttering bread. Let me show you what I mean, like I'm buttering toast. So I'm going to get some clean white. And I'm going to put the white on the top so it doesn't look like intentional lines. I want it to be a little more natural. So I have white on my brush, and I'm going to hold this very, very parallel. If I turn sideways, I'm going to hold it very parallel to the canvas. And I'm going to line the top of my brush up with the top of those mountains. By putting the white on this way, it gives me a nice solid line at the top, but it's kind of broken at the bottom. And I know it's so subtle and it's so hard to see, but in person it makes sense. So medium brush with white, and hold your brush parallel to your canvas, and you're lining the top of that brush up with the top line of your mountain, and you're just kind of like dragging it sideways. So the paint at the bottom of your bristles breaks up. It doesn't create a solid line. Let's do that again. Oh, I love that little bit of bright white right there on the top of those. On the top of those glacier peaks. We might even use a little bit of white to define left from right. Put this big guy in front of that guy. Okay, so I'm gonna leave those alone. We're gonna get ready for the bears. I'm excited about this. I'm excited about the bears. I'm gonna do one thing and then we're gonna take about a 5-minute drying break, I think. Underneath the bears, we have shadows. We have 2 different levels of shadows. So underneath the bears, we have this general dark area where they're sitting. And then we're going to put the bears on. And then we're going to go a little bit darker after the bears are already on there, right up underneath their bones. Okay. So let's make this section, it's like a half moon section here. I want to make this just a little bit darker. Did I get choppy? Oh, internet. We'll give it a minute. It'll come back. Okay, medium brush. Oh, I'm still choppy. I can see me. Can you hear me? You can hear me, but my video is choppy. Okay, I'll move slow. Medium brush, clean it out, dry it off. And let's go just a little bit darker than this ground color. So that was green, blue. I wonder if the choppiness is the weather coming through. Okay, blue, green, tiny bit of white and some black. And let's shadow underneath where those bears are going to sit. Stay side to side with your brush strokes. And it's about a half moon area. Again, blue, green, tiny white, black. I want to go just a little. Oh, did I come back? Am I not choppy anymore? Awesome. Awesome. Okay. My goal is to go just a little bit darker than my ground. Keep your brush strokes side to side. Okay. and we're going in the shape of like a half moon. I wondered if the weather was going to mess with signal tonight. And I know that probably seems random that I would think that the weather would mess with my internet. I have antenna internet, which sounds really strange, but that's what it is. There's a tower that is about, I don't know, about 5 miles or so from my house. And I have a dish that picks up signal from that tower. So when the weather gets rough, it's like TV in the old days, right? I lose signal. So it'll be okay though. Hopefully we're back. All right. So I'm gonna continue to work on this, and then we'll take a few minutes, and then we'll come back and put our bears on there. Okay. So how about 8:20? We'll come back together and we'll start working on bears. And this doesn't have to be dry, but it'll be drier than it is now. There we go, little bear shadow. So excited about these bears. Have you decided how many bears you're putting on there? Mama and a baby? Mom and dad, 7 babies? Up to you. Has anybody looked? Has it started to snow yet? Doesn't appear to have. But while we're on our break, we've got about 4 minutes before we move on. For our next step, we're going to work on those bears. We're going to need a clean medium brush, probably a clean small brush, clean white paint for bears. Now it's okay if we pick up a little bit of the background color, but we want mostly clean white paint. If you look at the original painting, you can see the bears have a little bit of that color in them, a little bit of that blue green, so that's okay. But mostly white. Oh, not till 10. Okay. It always occurs to me that as I'm answering questions that somebody has typed, those of you that aren't watching the screen, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about. I must seem like the most ADHD person on the planet. In the middle of a sentence, I'll just talk about Ostrander. Oh goodness. If you're done with your bear bottom shadow, you could work on your heart template if you haven't done that yet. I'm analyzing here to see if I have clean white paint. I do. I can pull some out of the middle there. Get a clean small brush and a clean medium brush. Oh no, what's mom stressing out about, Rachel? About the snow or about the paint? I need more context. Oh, about the paint? What are we stressing out about? Oh, it looks good. Why are we stressing? I'm not sure. I know mom's talking and I can't hear her. Don't stress out, mom. This is my reminder to you to don't stress out. Just breathe. It'll be fine. We'll put those cute little bear bottoms on there. It'd be adorable. Rachel, your job is to tell mom not to stress out. And if she is really stressing out, ooh, Wisconsin's getting lots of snow. Oh, that's okay. That's okay if she's not a painter, right? It's fine. Most of us aren't. It'd be okay. And if she's really stressing out, put your brushes in your water cup, go back to the video later. I have some people that will paint along with us, and based on how things go and what they learn, they'll then go back and paint it again, which I totally get. Lots of snow in Wisconsin. Well, I'm so glad you're joining us from Wisconsin. Oh, 10 to 15 inches. That's awesome. And you're right, Augie. I kind of need to go sledding. I haven't been sledding in forever. And I'm sure the first time I go sledding, when we get enough snow to go sledding, I'll remember my age and that I probably shouldn't be sledding. That won't happen till the next day. I'll be like, oh, I forgot I'm 46. I don't heal the way I used to. I think the last time I went sledding, my brother went with me and pulled me like right into a mud puddle. It was like the end of the snow and it was starting to get warm and we were losing it. We were losing the snow because it was getting too warm. And he pulled me right into the mud. Can't get back in the car like that. So then it turned into us getting rid of our muddy clothing, driving home in very little. Oh, the reservoir would be good, wouldn't it? I was gonna say we don't no snow in Champaign County yet. We don't have many hills around here. We go a little west though, a little toward Bell Fountain, and we could get some hills. But Union County's pretty darn flat. Okay, so it is time for bears. All right, let's do this. So the bears, we're going to break them down by shape. Okay, let's look at the bear in the middle. Ocean Park. Love that we have people from all over here. This makes me happy. Okay, so let's talk about the bears and let's break them down into shapes. So the bear in the middle, the hill at the high school. Where's the hill at the high school, Buttery? Is that by the soccer fields, maybe? I know I'm looking for a sledding hill now. In Marion, we used to go to the memorial, either that or Lake. Oh, okay, good to know, Buttery. Or Lincoln Park. That's where my brother pulled me into the mud puddle. Okay, so this bear in the middle, his body is just an oval, right? It's a chubby oval. And if you look at just the body, not the head, not the tail, nothing else, it's about half in the sky and half in the ground. Kind of splits it right there in half. So let's do that. So I'm going to use my medium brush. And I know there's been talk about how do we make it look like fur? Some people have messaged me, how do we give it texture? Let's just put it on there with white first. And we'll fill it in. And then we'll talk about texture after. But let's get that base on there first. So medium brush. You use whatever brush makes you happy. But I want to put that one bear right in the middle and about that body. So about half half that body above my horizon line and half of it below my horizon line. So medium brush, white, oval, half above, half below. Pretty much it. Fill it in. Not worried about texture just yet. Just going to fill it in. Now, I can see some of my color through that white. That's okay. That's going to help us later. You know, I might even pick up a little bit of blue, because I know I'm going to give this guy 2 coats. So I might even pick up a little bit of blue so that undercoat is a little tinted. That way that the white fur I put over top will really pop. It's kind of the same theory as the mountains, right? We had that little bit of color, and then we put those bright white, oh, too wet, Lynn, do we need to wait a few minutes? Then we put those bright white caps on. And that it's kind of the same thing we're going to do with this bear. Put the body on first, and then that bright white fur over top. So what I'm hearing is that might be too wet for some people. Lynn has let me know that her ground is too wet. You know what isn't too wet though is the sky. How about we jump up to the sky and we work on that heart? That'll give this down here a little time to dry. And with my big bear now, my bear that's in the middle, I know where that bear is going to live. I know then directly above that bear, that's where the point of my heart is going to go. Okay. So let's take a break from this section. Let's give that some time to dry. And let's jump up here. So now to get perfectly round little dots, I'm going to use the other end of my brush. I think I'm going to start with the other end of my big brush. And then I can fill in some smaller dots with my little brush if I need to. Okay, so the point of my heart, straight up. And what do you think? Is your heart going to be straight? Is it going to be turned a little? It's up to you. I'm going to step over in front here real quick so I can figure out where I want this. I want it right there. Here. Right there. Okay. And at this point, it might be easier if you need to lay your canvas flat. You can do that. I'm going to keep mine vertical. I'm going to take the other end of my big brush in the white. And I'm going to start with those biggest polka dots right around the edge of my heart. And then I can remove it, remove my template. Once I get my outline. All righty. Wow. Zerp. Okay. So now as we put our dots on there for our heart, they're most concentrated around the heart and then they disperse out, right? So they get a little more, a little further away, a little more random, the further out we go. So I'm going to work on concentrating dots right around this heart. And this is working at it this way. This is going to take quite some time, but that's okay because you're in your own home. You have plenty of time, even after I leave you here this evening. This is something you can continue to work on. But if we get it started now, it's giving this bottom time to dry. And then we can always finish it later. Finish our heart dots later. I don't know if they're snow or if they're stars. I don't know. Start to radiate some out. I'm using my big brush right now, but then I will move on to a smaller brush, I think, because I don't want all my polka dots to be big. I'm getting probably 4 or 5 dots out of each dip in the paint. Big 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, about 4. Again, remember your canvas is not glued in place, right? You can lay it flat if it's easier. Sometimes when we work on something like this, if our canvas is vertical, we push it across the room. Okay. Big dots with my big brush. Move on to one of my smaller brushes because my handle is smaller. So I'll wind up with smaller dots. Remember keeping those dots really concentrated right around your heart so you can tell that it is a heart, right? If you don't have enough polka dots, if you don't have enough paint dots around it, you're not going to be able to tell it's a heart. Ooh, if we were in the studio, we would glitter this up. All our little dots up here. And I love it too when the dots get up into this dark that we put up at the top. That contrast is lovely. Those white dots on that dark sky. Okay, so let's work on this for, I don't know, maybe another 5 or so minutes. Again, it's giving that bottom time to dry for our bears. So it's 8:33. How about 8:38? So if the bottom for you is still really, really wet, it's blow dryer time. And 8:38, we'll come back and we'll put bears on there. if you smeared it, you could, I saw somebody said when they peeled the heart away, they smeared it. You could take your big brush and put it all back into the background again and blow dry it and then start again. You could take a clean damp paper towel and wipe the smear spot off aggressively. Yeah, we love acrylic paint because it dries pretty fast. So you could turn it all into background, wait for it to dry, and then go again. Okay, so about 3 minutes, about 3-ish minutes, and we'll come back to those bears. Thanks for the heads up on that, by the way, Lynn. It's one of those things I have a hard time judging if your canvas is dry. I always forget I paint really fast, so mine's always dry before everybody else's. Okay, so 2 minutes, and we're gonna work on those bears. Okay, 1 more minute. Keep looking at my dots around my heart, and I'm like, do I need more? I think I'm gonna stop. I think I do need more, but I think I'm gonna stop where I'm at with those dots, because then I think I'm gonna go back and add some more dots in, and then hit not all of them, but the new ones that I put on, and hit those with just a little bit of silver glitter. So they won't all be glittered, but just the fresh ones I put on there will be. Okay, back to bear. All right, I'm going to go back to my medium brush. Again, it's whichever brush makes you happy. I'm liking my medium brush right now. And I'm going to work in some of this white that just has a tiny, 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 tiny bit of blue in it. Just a tiny, tiny bit. It's mostly white, but it's got a tiny, tiny bit of blue. Okay, so I have my bear body. My bear head is, I hesitate to say raindrop because I don't want it to get too pointy, but it's somewhere between an egg shape and a raindrop shape. right there on top. Fill it in. And that got kind of pointy, but that's okay because I'm going to give him, I'll put his little black nose up there. And then, so I have body, I have raindrop-ish shape head, and then I want to give him Lil Bear, his back leg haunches, like a dog, right? So he needs like a little haunch right there, and a little haunch right there, and his little bear tail, little round bear tail. Boop. Cute. And ears. Little round ear, and because he's looking up, the ears are going to be down. Right? So a little ear right there, a little bear ear right there. Make that tail a little more round. Now, because I have this color on here that's off-white, I can take solid white with my medium brush, and I can do some little pull down brush strokes if I want to put fur on there. Doing just little pull down, down, down brush strokes. Down, down, down. And I started down here at the bum, and I'm working my way up. I feel like I might want to put a little bit of color in there, just to make him a little more interesting. Down here at his bum, maybe here at his neck. The tiniest bit of color really helps distinguish, like separate parts of him, right? White there on the head. I'll make those ears a little bigger. Okay. And then two eyes and a nose. So I'm going to use one of my smaller brushes, the other end of it in the black, and I'm going to give him two eyes. So 1, 2, and then I'm going to go to my bigger brush because the end of it is bigger for the nose to get a bigger dot. Nose right there at the top of that raindrop. Oh, how cute is that? Oh, bear. Oh, bear. That's cute. Okay. So we have that shape down. So now how many other bears should we do? I need a couple, I think. So I'm going to do those just like I did that first one. I'm going to start with a color that's just off white. It's white with just a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of blue green in there. So we have an oval body that's a little smaller than Mama. And the raindrop shape head that kind of angles in toward Mama. And little back leg haunches. And a little tail, little round poopy tail. And then I'm going to clean that brush out and get clean white. Put little fur, little pull down brush strokes for fur. You need to let it dry a little, you can, before you put that clean white on there. But that white adds lovely texture. Use that clean white for ears. Little bear ears. Oh, how cute. Chubby little tail. And then this guy just has the one eye because he's looking sideways. And a nose. Oh, they make me happy. They're so stinking cute. All right, the other one on the other side here. I love starting with that color that's just off white. Because it makes that white fur that we put on top really pop. I have the chubbiest little bears. As they should be. Checking in on y'all, making sure you're breathing. Everybody breathing? The thing we remind ourselves here, right? It's only paint. If something goes sideways, we let it dry, go back and paint it over. I think the hardest part is if you feel you've goofed something up, is letting it dry. We want to, that means we have to sit in our mistake for a while, what we perceive as our mistake. But that's the best thing you can do, is if you feel like you've messed something up, let it dry completely and then go back and cover it over. Which that's hard to do, I get it. Okay, and then this guy needs a little eye and nose. Cute, cute, cute. So my goal here is to show you how to do things, right? And not to rush you. You've got plenty of time. You're home. You're in your own space. You keep working, right? Keep playing. I have a couple more things I'm going to do before I call this done. I want to go back and add just a little dark underneath their bums if you feel like you need it. Let me show you what I mean. Remember, we said that shadow, it was in two different stages. So we have that first layer of shadow under there. I'm going to go back and go just a tiny, tiny bit darker than this color, which is pretty darn close to black, but not solid black. And I want to go right up underneath their rumps with that side to side brush stroke. This is totally optional. You don't have to do this, but it's one of those little things that adds a finishing touch. So I'm going right up underneath their rumps, right up underneath that tail, adding that second layer of darkness under them. And that helps set them down even further. Okay. I feel like I could play in those bears a little more, but I'm going to let them dry because I want to go back and get some more clean white right back on them. And then the very last thing you want to do as an artist is sign your painting, right? Now, don't sign until you're done. And you may not be done. You may still be working, which is fantastic. Keep playing. But for the recording, so I can end the recording tonight, you want to make sure and sign, usually bottom left or bottom right. I like to put my initials and the date, at least the year, so I know when I completed it. If you don't want to sign on the front, you can sign on the back. If you sign on the back with a paint pen or a Sharpie, never here, always out here. Okay. If you sign here, it could bleed through to the front. So always out here. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and sign mine here on the front, even though I feel like I might go back and play with those bears. We'll see. SS blue and a little tick 21. So there we go. We'll call that done. So I will go ahead and unmute here in just a second once I stop the recording. So if you have any questions, we can talk. Thank you all so much for joining me for Painting Through the Pandemic. I'm Shauna Sue from Crooked Door Studio. This has been a lot of fun. I love this. I feel like I kind of want another bear over there at the edge, just his head like peeking in from the side, like, hey guys, right? That'd be kind of cute. But anyway, I'm gonna play with that later. So thank you all so much for joining me tonight. This has been great. I'll see y'all next week. Thanks.